Hey everyone, welcome to What the Freak. What the freak indeed. I'm only on here live and not doing YouTube because my shit's getting fucked with. So, must be pissing somebody off. Junior high boys. Anywho, wanted to get on here and discuss an important topic about the aspects of ourself, the freak side that we're suppressing, that we're judging. How many people would judge how I look right now? Are judging how I look right now? What I'm wearing, what I look like, whatever. What I'm saying, what I'm doing. And how much of their perception of what is good or bad or right or wrong, where does it come from? I mean, it's their perception. Oh, well, the Bible says so. Oh, well, this religious text says so. We were given free will, which is our divine right to choose. And what's interesting is we've been taught to suppress and shut down and dismiss and attack and punish and shame those aspects of ourselves that people would label, whatever label they want to give it, of what they believe to be right, wrong, good, bad. And yet, don't we hear a lot, experience is the best teacher? Isn't it different when we feel from the experience, whether we feel good or feel bad for whatever it is we've done or chosen? Isn't that the best way to determine that we don't want to do that again? Because we felt it. What happens? Do we tend to keep punishing ourselves for our mistakes? Do we have others in our environment that are using those things against us and punishing us and throwing it in our face to guilt us, shame us, manipulate us, keep us in control, dependent on them to guide us in what's good, bad, right, wrong? And then we're having to go to confession or having to go where we feel the need to get it off our chest to somebody that will tell us whether we're worthy of God's love. And then at home in our environment, do we have to prove our worth, prove our love to be worthy of receiving it? So, no wonder. We've been told how to be, and yet not allowed to experience. And then we're taught to shut down and dismiss and punish the aspects of ourselves that make us who we are, make us human. And taught to dismiss it, and then what do? Then we cope with it. We do whatever to cope with it. Pick your addiction. And mask it. And feel like we have to put on some front and hide that aspect of ourselves because of what other people will think of us. As though their perceptions of us are what determine our worth. Where do we learn that? Who determines our worth? How many labels are we given? Hey, Jamie, great to see you. I'm on here because YouTube and something's screwing with my phone. I've been noticing the views on my YouTube have been getting screwed with too. So why are we hiding these aspects of ourselves? For fear of what other people will think about us. As though we should be ashamed of ourselves for looking like this, or dressing like this, or believing this. As though our worth is tied to their perception of us and determined by anybody else. Took me a long time to realize, yes, exactly. Even before then, epigenetics, right? And all of this has been normalized. All of this has been normalized. And so it's just accepted as norm because that's how it's always been. And the interesting thing is, as I reverse engineered my story, it got me contemplating how far back it goes to even before my living memory, where this shit is taught, where the shame and then everything else. And then it becomes a self-licking ice cream cone. So then we continue to beat ourselves up and shame ourselves. And then if we start to get out of line, or we start to come into our power and being more confident in ourselves, or what have you, we have somebody there to remind us, oh, you're not special. You're nothing. You're nobody. To make sure that we don't outshine them or something. Because then it's shining a mirror on the fact that they're not being authentic. And they don't like the reflection. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, generational programming. Deeply embedded in our software. And we can remove the viruses of our mind from those instilled belief systems that have affected our choices, our trajectory, our behavior, our life, where we are now, all impacted by this. And when we shut down the aspects of ourselves, the inner freak, that and when we learn from those mistakes, those choices that were not in our best interest or didn't make us feel good, we feel it. We feel it. We experience the wisdom of it. And then we know not to do it again. That's why it's the best teacher, because it's felt. So on the same other side of the coin of this, of experiencing and feeling, is the love. Do we really know what love is and means? I sure didn't. I thought I did. I sure didn't, because I was shamed, and then I was judging and shaming myself, and it was keeping me in these patterns and in these relationships and situations where it was reinforced, because that was normal. That's what was familiar to me about how to be. And self-sabotage to the brim. And it nearly destroyed me until I finally started, while I was doing something about it this whole time. It was, I was on the ledge of a building. I was done. I'd been trying, I'd been looking, and on the outside edge, about to take that leap, and something said, wait, there'll be peace. And I was like, I've thought that before, and stuff just keeps happening, and I can't do this anymore. And I was like, okay, but something better give quick, because I'm done. And right after that, literally right after that, I was guided to a video by Carolyn Miss called Sacred Power. And it wasn't the first episode. It was literally God knows what season and what episode. It was about choices, is all I remember. And she said, are we making choices based on fear and lack? on archetypes or past experiences or what we've been taught to believe is real and true? Or are we making choices based in love, in our soul? Self-love. And I realized then, I was like, oh my God, I've been making choices based in fear and lack. And on what everybody else told me I should choose. And what was normal and real and true. Then, interestingly enough, I was presented with two choices. All of a sudden. Go to a friend that I knew was a good person, but didn't really know that well. Great farm, upstate New York. Or offered and then suddenly offered a job, a comfortable job in Vegas, where I would manage the company and live the good life. And it was interesting that I this time I contemplated my choices. This time I sat with it and was like, okay, where do I go from here? I was going to think about it this time. And oddly enough, as terrifying as it was, I stepped into the unknown and made the choice to go to my friend's farm where I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how I was going to make it. I didn't know what to expect. And that changed the total course of my life. And the best choice I ever made. So it was there that I experienced for the first time what unconditional love felt like. And it was powerful. I was here and there at the same time. It was an experience that I had never had before. And I was like, holy shit, this is what it feels like to actually be loved. Not the conditional shit we've been taught. And then learning that the aspects of ourselves that we've been shaming and that we've allowed other people to shame in us, the traumas are the treasures. The triggers are the treasures. Because they're trying to tell us the truth of us when we pay attention and listen to them, as opposed to trying to avoid it and shame it and judge it and punish it and attack it, which is the truth. The truth of how we're feeling, and paying attention to how we're feeling, and not letting our own thinking that could be blurred from the lens of perception that we've been taught to look through, that isn't the truth of us. It's based on other people's perceptions and expectations and judgments of what they say is real and true. Well, how many of us can be told something 100 times, and when we experience it, that's a game changer, right? Same thing. So we make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. So why are we being told and taught what to do, what to believe, what to think, what to feel, and prevented from making mistakes? Or, I mean, of course we want to prevent mistakes if we can, especially if it's going to hurt somebody else. And still how we learn. We're going to hurt others. They're going to hurt us. Where do we get off believing that somehow we're going to avoid this pain of the mistakes, of the hurt? Figure it out or fuck it, right? Isn't that how science works out? Figure it out and find out. So why are we judging? Why are we assuming? Why are we punishing others for making mistakes when we're not perfect ourselves? Why are we preventing people from experiencing the benefits? Exactly. It's about control. And they're using this. How many people have thrown in our face past mistakes? How many people are still judging us based on past mistakes that we've made? And yet Are they perfect? And are we allowing them to influence our perception of ourself, which is how we're creating our reality, by our perceptions? And they know this. That's why they're fucking with my shit. Likely. Not gonna assume. Just saying it's weird. And what are we doing to ourselves and others as a result? Are we keeping ourselves from experiencing what it can feel like to be loved? Which is why I started What the Freak. I started What the Freak because it was then, that experience with finally 40 years of never experiencing unconditional love, zero expectation, no judgment, just allowed to be. Literally zero expectation of any kind. How many of us are doing that for each other and supporting one another through our journey? We're going to fumble through it. At least having people there that give a shit can help us process it and get through it. Were we taught as kids to process our emotions? No, we were taught what to think, what to feel, what to believe, what's real and true. You just sit there and you obey. Do what I tell you to do. No, don't go do those things. No, you don't get to figure it out for yourself. You just do what I tell you. And now I know why most people that I know have zero clue what it is to love or be loved. Because if we were to experience it, really feel what it feels like to be loved and to love others, we wouldn't be treating each other the way we are. We wouldn't be treating each other the way we are, and we would be loving each other. Isn't that what Jesus said the identifying mark of his people were? The love among themselves? What have you been taught love is? Judge, assume, punish, condemn, guilt, shame, expect. That's not unconditional love. Look at 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter. Love believes all things. This means believe what you choose. It is your choice. That is your free will to choose. And at the same time, respect others' choices and their free will as well. Work on our own stuff. Why are we even judging others in the first place? It is keeping us from actually experiencing what it means to love. To have love for ourselves and love for others. Well, how can we love ourselves until we know what it is and experience it? And we have to stop looking at, well, we don't have to, we can choose to stop looking at those aspects of ourselves that we've been feeling the shame for, that's causing us to mask and forgive ourselves, learn from it, and then grow beyond it, and let the pain come, feel the pain of it, and realize, oh, I don't want to do that again. You know? And What the Freak is here to provide a contextual field so that people can find out those aspects of themselves without fearing that judgment or shame that we've been taught to do, which is just another aspect of ourselves. And it's interesting, Jamie, that you bring up control. What's interesting is when we look at people's behavior as a whole. I mean, if you look really everywhere you go. And yet, what are we taught aren't we taught that Satan is the ruler of this world? What does Satan mean? What does devil mean? Resistor, opposer. So what are we resisting and opposing? The truth of ourselves? What happened when Adam and Eve disobeyed God? Didn't they cover themselves in shame? And perhaps from that point, it was difficult for them to get back to feeling worthy of God's love. Perhaps they kept shaming themselves after that. And it was simply recognizing that we are innately valuable. Every single one of us, where we are right now. Our labels have no bearing on our worth and our deserving and being worthy of love from God or anybody else for that matter. We've just allowed others to determine our worth and allowed the labels and the programming to perpetuate and keep that wheel going in that direction. When we can realize, and it took me a long time and uncovering a lot of crap to realize, oh, just by my existence, I am worthy of love. And who are we to determine whether anybody else is or not? And this is what I feel is the crux of what's happening in mankind. And we can choose to do something about it, and we can have fun when we embrace those aspects of ourselves that we've been taught to shame and judge and condemn, and realize, you know what? My worth isn't based on somebody else's perception of me. Nobody else's opinion is going to determine or tell me whether I am worthy of God's love or not. I know my worth. I feel and I've experienced that. And that is the crux, is feeling it to know it. So thank you for listening and joining and your participation. And hopefully I'll get things working and do another YouTube, and we'll see what happens. So thank you all. Appreciate you. And